Hello students, we are here with a new video, chapter 4, supply analysis. We studied the supply analysis meaning, supply schedule, supply curve, market schedule, market curve. Determinants of supply, we studied about the determinants. Law of supply we studied. Then we studied about the assumption, exceptions, the variations in supply expansion and contraction of supply. This much we studied in this chapter. Now the remaining, we are today with the remaining part of the chapter 4, supply analysis. We discussed about the definition of supply. What mainly the supply depends on the determinants. We studied all the determinants of supply. In the determinants of supply, we studied the first determinant, price, and there are many other determinants which decide the supply. In the variations, the expansion and contraction of supply we studied due to the change in the price, the change in the price, there is a change in the supply. When the price is high, the supply increases, that is expansion in supply, and when the price decreases, the supply contracts, that is contraction in supply. That we studied. Now we are going to study the changes in supply. In that, often factor changes, the price remain constant. It's known as the changes, means other factors changes and the price remain constant. Which are the other factors? We know that other than price there are many other factors. Which are the factors we will study when we go to increase in supply and decrease in supply. There are two types of changes in supply, that is increase in supply. You can see in the slide the increase in supply. The increase in supply refers to the rise in supply of a given commodity due to favorable changes in other factors such as fall in price of inputs, fall in tax rates, technological upgradation, etc., while the price remain constant. You can see in this diagram in the slide, you can see two axes, x-axis and y-axis. In the y-axis, you can see the P given, it indicates the price, and in the x-axis, you can see Q given, that indicates the quantity demanded. SS is the supply curve, and one more supply curve you can see, that is S1, S1 or S dash, S dash. So what it indicates? The price in this, we can see the price that indicates OP, the price. The prices remain constant, but there is a change in supply. The supply curve shifts to the rightwards, showing that increase in supply. Why this happened? Because many factors other than price. Which are the other factors? Mentioned here it is fall in tax rates, technological upgradation, and we can take climatic conditions, and many other reasons are there. We studied the determinants. In the determinants you can see what are the other factors. So all these factors indicates, means due to this change, the price remaining constant, the supply changes, increases. To show the increase, you can see an arrow shown to the right side. It shows that when supply curve, the shifting of supply curve, we can say it as the forward shifting of supply curve. The forward shifting of supply curve. When the supply curve shifts forward, it indicates the increase in supply. The next it is decrease in supply. Decrease in supply refers to a fall in supply of a given commodity due to unfavorable changes in other factors, such as we mentioned in the last increase in supply that price of the input increased, taxes increased, technological problems, there may outdated technology, strikes by the workers, while the price remain constant, there is a decrease in supply and the supply curve shift backwards. The arrow you can see, it is shown to the left direction, showing that decrease in supply, price remaining same, but the supply decrease. So the supply curve, yes, is shifted for means backward, showing the decrease. So students, in the chapter supply, we studied about the variations in supply, and after the law of supply assumption exceptions, we studied about the variations in supply and changes in supply. Now variations in supply, what it is? Expansion and contraction. What is the reason of it? The price changes. Today we studied about the changes in supply. In changes in supply, we studied increase and decrease. This changes is due to the change in other factors rather than price. Price remaining constant, other factor change. So this much you have to keep in the mind. While explaining each diagram, you have to explain, as I mentioned before also, the diagram is explained in the particular way that you have to say that what indicates the y-axis, what indicates that x-axis, what is the price, which curve is this, the directions of the arrow, and everything you can explain in this diagram when it is asked. This can be distinguished questions asked, short notes it can be asked. So minute things you have to just keep in your mind is that what is increase in supply? If it is an multiple choice question, we can say increase in supply is due to, first one, change in price, okay, change in income, change in other factors. Like that, if you can write it, change in other factors. That in this way, this you have to keep in mind. What happens in the increase in supply? The supply curve shift forward, backward, remains same. You can say the supply curve shifts forward. That shows an increase in supply. Now decrease in supply means the supply curve shifts backward. So these all things you have to keep in your mind while studying this topic. In each topic, the curves, where it goes on, what is the curve, what is constant, what is varying, this all thing you have to just keep in mind. You can ask the difficulties also. While seeing the video, you just write the comments also. And in the Google Classroom, you can just write your opinions, asking the difficulties. This video is made for you students, so just you can ask the questions, you can clear your difficulties. Okay, so in the supply, we studied this topic. Now we are going to study about the cost concepts. The concept of cost, because this cost and revenue is very important in the production process. Mainly in the matter of supply, the cost is a very important thing that decides the price of the commodity and even the supply. Now what is cost concept? When an entrepreneur undertakes an act of production, he has to use various inputs like raw materials, labor, capital, etc. He has to make payments for such inputs. The expenditure incurred on these inputs is known as the cost of production. Cost of production increases with an increase in the need of output. Okay. Now, when we explain it in a brief manner, we can say that cost of production means what? What is known as cost of production? Students, while hearing my lecture, I give a hint for each points also. Which question can be occurred that when you see the video, when you observe the video 2 or 3 times, you can understand that. Now we saw a cost of production. What is cost of production? The expenditure incurred on the inputs of production, you can say. It is these inputs means the inputs of production is known as the cost of production. Means what expense are, what are the inputs? Labor, raw material, capital, power, and all these are inputs. While using the inputs, there the use the money, the expenditure also is incurred. So this comes in the cost. Got it? Now the cost, we study about the three types of cost, that is total cost, average cost, marginal cost. In the total cost, two other factors are there, total fixed cost and total variable cost. Now we are going to study about the total cost. Total cost is the total expenditure incurred by a firm on the factors of production required for production of goods and services. Total cost is the sum total fixed cost and total variable cost at various level of output. So the two definitions it has given about the total cost. Total cost is the total expenditure incurred by the firm, or it has means holded the expenditure. The firm has expended the money required for production, and that is the total cost. In the total cost, sum total of fixed cost and variable cost. We will study what is total fixed cost. So the formula given, it is there. Symbolically we can say that TC is equal to TFC plus TVC. TC means total cost, TFC total fixed cost, TVC total variable cost. Again it is definition is given, total fixed cost are those expenses of production which are incurred on the fixed factors. The example it is given, land. Land is a fixed factor. Even production goes on or not, the expenditure on land is, we have to carry it. So that is total fixed cost. Total variable cost varies, varying, changing, variations. The total variable costs are those expenses of production which are incurred on variable factors such as labor, raw material, power, fuel, etc. So this cost concept, first we are studying about the total cost and the total cost. Two costs are there, total fixed cost and total variable cost. Then we study about the second cost concept, that is average cost. Average cost refers to cost of production per unit. एक एक यूनिट का जो प्रोडक्शन है, एवरेज निकाला है, it is the calculate by dividing the total cost by the total quantity of production. Now total cost, 10 पैकेट बिस्किट बनाने के लिए अपन को 50 रुपये लगा, तो टोटल कॉस्ट ऑफ द बिस्किट इज कितना है 50, कितना पैकेट है 10, तो अपन क्या करेंगे 50 डिवाइडेड बाय 10, टोटल क्वांटिटी कितना है प्रोडक्शन का 10 पैकेट, तो 50 डिवाइडेड बाय 10 अपन को कितना मिलते हैं 5. सो ये एवरेज कॉस्ट है. गॉट? इन दिस वे द एवरेज कॉस्ट इज टेकन. Means for the production total average I have to spend this much. The producers should keep in mind that what he has to spend for the production, then only he can analyze about the profit, the price, and he can go through and take over the business. What money is giving to the inputs. Inputs means I have mentioned the labor, it is there, raw material, capital, and many other things which is essential for the production comes in that. Marginal cost, addition to the total. We studied in all this chapter, we studied about the marginal. In the second chapter, there was a very important factor, that marginal cost, marginal utility, it is there. So marginal cost is the sum, is the net addition to the total cost. In the textbook, symbolically it is given and you can calculate it. Difficulties, as I mentioned before, you ask me. Got? So these three costs clear you? It is clear. Now revenue concept. Next it is revenue concept. What is revenue? The term revenue refers to the receipts obtained by the firm from the sale of certain quantities of commodities at the given price in the market. Revenue receipt means मैंने अगर 10 पैकेट बिस्किट बना के उसको बेच दिया, मुझे कितना एवरेज कॉस्ट लगा 5 रुपीज़, मैं उसको 7 रुपये में नहीं तो 10 रुपये में बेच दिया, तो मेरा रेवेन्यू वो होगा. If I send it for one packet for 10 rupees, I will get 10 packets, 100 rupees I will get. So what is my revenue? That is 100 rupees. So what is term revenue? The receipts obtained by a firm from the sale of certain quantities of commodities at given price. Total revenue is the total sale proceeds of a firm by selling the commodities at the given price. Means total commodities I sold, and that the cost of that commodities, that is the total revenue. What total I got it, that is the total revenue. Now, average revenue is the revenue per unit of output sold. It is obtained by dividing the total revenue by the number of units. I got total revenue 100. So, my average revenue for 10 packet biscuit, it is 100 divided by 10. So, my average revenue is 10. My cost, you just see that what it is. So, in this way we have to calculate it, and we have to keep in the mind these facts when the production is going on. Marginal revenue, marginal revenue is the net addition made to the total, selling the extra unit of commodity. When extra unit of commodity is sold, we can get the margin. Thus, in the cost concept, you have to keep in the mind, very simple it is. Cost, 3 types of cost: total cost, average cost, marginal cost. In total cost, total fixed cost and variable cost is there. Then we studied about the revenue concept. In the revenue, we studied about the total revenue, average revenue and marginal revenue. Means when we study that total revenue is equal to price into quantity demanded. Price, as I mentioned, price 10 means price is 10 rupees, and quantity it is 10 packets, then it the 100, total revenue is 100. In this way, this chapter concludes. So, go through, hear the slide, hear the lectures again and again. It's very good for you that you are hearing the lecture while in the class. When you hear the lecture, means next time what is explained, that you will also forget, and what I said, it is not essential that the same thing is said every time. Every class, each class is different for teachers. So, seeing the curiosity of the students, seeing your studying capacity, our explanation also will changes. The topic remains the same, but the way of explanation changes for the teachers. But here you are lucky that you can hear the same lectures again and again, because we are uploading in the YouTube. So, students, please just go through the lectures. This lecture is made for you. See it again, ask difficulties, read the textbooks properly, and with the next chapter 5, I will be back very soon. Thank you, students.